Hello everyone. I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. My name is Beverly Smith and my son's name is Alonzo Smith. My son Alonzo Smith was killed on November 1st of this year. He was killed by two special police officers at Marlboro Plaza apartment complex in Southeast DC. My son was beaten to death. We do not know why my son was in custody of the special police officers. They're not telling me anything. The autopsy report has just recently been released, and the cause of my son's death is a homicide. However, my son's case is now in the grand jury hand, and the grand jury is supposed to convene in January. What I would like to see happen is there's two special police officers that murdered my son to be indicted.
Yes.
And after the indictment, I would like for them to be prosecuted for the murder of my son.
Yes.
To date, I know some of you may know, you may have seen the two videos that Chief Lanier had released to the public showing my son's dead body to the world. I was not informed when the second videotape was released. However, again, I do not know any more today about how my son was killed than when they first notified me on November the 2nd that my son was murdered. They're not telling me anything. So I am out here fighting for justice for my son Alonzo Smith.
Yeah.
My son was a DC resident. He was a Virginia school teacher. He was also a poet, and also he was a portrait model. My son had plans on returning to college next month to finish up his degree in social work. I'm very angry and I am very upset how they killed my son and snatched his life like that, and nobody is telling me anything. They can't even tell me why my son was stopped. What crime did he commit? They're telling me he didn't commit any crime. They telling me he running around screaming on PCP. There was no PCP found in my son's system. There was neighbors and witnesses said they heard my son running and screaming and yelling, "Help, help, they're trying to kill me." And eventually they did kill my son. So again, I would like to thank everyone for coming out here, fighting for justice, for all the blacks that has been killed, that has been murdered by police officers and special police officers alike. This has got to stop.
Yes.
This has got to stop, and it's got to stop now. They need to be accountable for their actions. And I pray for the prosecutor who is leading my son's case. I pray that he will submit sufficient amount of evidence, which I know that he has, to indict the special police officers that murder my son. I understand that the grand jury, they deal with ex parte proceedings, meaning it's one-sided. There is no defense. So it's up to the prosecutor and the evidence that he submits to the grand jury that's going to determine if the special police officers are going to be indicted for the murder of my son. Again, there is sufficient amount of evidence that my son was killed. The medical report said homicide. It is not a justified homicide like they tried to say when they first reported my son's death, a justified homicide. They come back the second day, changed it and said it was an error. You just don't make errors like that. So they tried to cover it up from the beginning. But as long as I have breath in my body, I will continue to fight for justice for my son and every other black person that has been murdered by police officers and special police officers. Thank you.
Justice for Zoe!
Justice for Zoe! Justice for Zoe!
Justice for Zoe!
Justice for Zoe!
Justice for Zoe!
Justice for Zoe! Justice for Zoe!
Justice for Zoe!